Hello, this is Jade the Stone, and welcome to speedARTicles, where I talk about a piece of media that I like and draw some fan art for it. I really enjoy a good mystery, which is odd because I tend to roll my eyes at some of the more formulaic genres in media, such as romances or comedy. And yet mysteries, particularly murder mysteries, have perhaps some of the most formulaic features out there. But I think there's a comfort in that formula, and maybe that's what makes them attractive and comfortable to those who enjoy such stories. For this video, I want to talk about one of my favorite comfy murder mysteries, and that is the murder mystery series called Columbo. It's a series that makes me feel strangely calm and comfortable while I watch it, and it's hard to place exactly why that is. So that's what this video is about, trying to find out what exactly makes Columbo a comfy murder mystery series. Columbo follows the cases investigated by homicide detective Lieutenant Columbo. The series ran for 10 seasons from the 70s all the way to the early 2000s, and each episode runs the length of a movie. The style and storytelling has a similar flow and cinematography expected of a movie as well, many of which even have their own styles and employ different visual techniques, allowing for a similar plotline with the same character, but more individual creative ideas and different ways to tell a story in each episode. The overall flow and formula, of course, remains the same. Each episode starts with the murder itself, because the focus of most episodes are not necessarily on Columbo himself, it's on the murderer. Columbo isn't really a whodunit. It's not even a how-do-it, it's more of a how-catch-em, because from the very first few scenes, we're shown exactly who the murderer is, their motives, and how they pull off their crime. It is only once the murder is committed that Columbo is called in to investigate. And from then on out, we have a delicious game of cat and mouse as Columbo hounds the perpetrator until he's able to get them to reveal that they committed the murder beyond all shadow of a doubt. Though the focus of most episodes is not usually on Columbo, it is also Columbo himself and how he interacts with the villains that makes the show so interesting. Columbo is a very unassuming man. He's told within the series itself that he's not the type of person one would typecast as a detective. He's often very disheveled, wearing a frumpy old raincoat, and he has an absolute lemon of a car. He doesn't carry a gun, and in one episode even spends much of the time trying to avoid his marksman test because he has no aim. He's mistaken for a homeless man rather than a police officer on more than one occasion. And he tends to ramble on a lot about whatever he's thinking. Not only that, but most episodes start with him at a disadvantage or caught in a silly misunderstanding. He's lost, he has a cold, he loses his luggage, he gets into a small car accident. Even to the viewer, we underestimate him. These moments humanize him. He is a little silly, yes, but he's a brilliant detective. Most people, when they meet Columbo, he's not what they expect, at all. And this is what lets them lower their guard. Because if Columbo is good at one thing, it's sniffing out clues and talking with people. Or rather, getting them to talk, to reveal their own inconsistencies and lies. It is because he is so constantly underestimated that he is often able to get the better of the people that he is investigating. He's always saying, just one more thing, before he leaves, and continues to ask questions. As Columbo explains, when I first joined the force, they had some very clever people out there, and I could tell right away that it wasn't going to be easy making detective as long as they were around. But I figured if I worked harder than they did, put in more time, read the books, kept my eyes open, maybe I could make it happen, and I did. It's not necessarily Columbo's intelligence that allows him to win in the end, but his tenacity. A fairly consistent thing about all of the murderers in this series is that they're all people in positions of power or wealth. And it is their desperation to keep that power and wealth, or a greed for more, that leads them to murder, whether it is intentional or not. They're famous actors, wealthy lawyers, genius chess players, once even one of Columbo's own superiors. They've all got high standings in whatever position they're in. And they've got a big ego. Their ego justifies, to them, their actions. And it is also what ultimately trips them up. It's their ego and pride that makes them think they can outsmart this seemingly simpleton of a detective, And there's no way that they can be taken down a peg by someone who prattles on about his interests, his dog, or his wife. But then he adds just one more thing, and switches subjects last minute to the crime at hand. And they don't see that coming when Columbo asks just the right question, ones that they don't have a good answer to, that eventually works little by little into their story and reveals their plots. Watching moments like these, you'd think that Columbo is doing these things as a trick, that he's purposefully annoying or badgering the suspect into revealing their plot. And sometimes that is truly a part of it. Honestly, if there were ever a case for never telling the cops anything, I'd look to Columbo. But if it weren't for the one main quality of his, he wouldn't be as likable or endearing. And that one quality is that he is incredibly sincere. You really do get a sense that he just wants to talk, that he really is trying to be kind. He's almost never upset or reacts in anger, even when he is highly suspicious or even sure that the person he's after is the murderer. He approaches them with constant kindness and calm. More often than not, he even befriends the murderer. He'll learn from them, whether it's learning magic from a magician, joining one of them on a cooking show, or drinking wine with the owner of a vineyard. He actually spends time with and enjoys the company of the villain. In one episode, Columbo states, "Even with some of the murderers I meet, I even like them too. Sometimes like them and even respect them. Not for what they did, certainly not for that, but for that part of them which is intelligent, or funny, or just nice. Because there's niceness in everyone. A little bit, anyhow." In a way, this humanizes even their murderers. They're flawed. We follow their stories of murder and deceit, and they meet a kind detective, and whether through clever deduction, a small trick, or a misstep on their part, their schemes are revealed. And maybe that's what is most comforting about Columbo. It's always a story about powerful, seemingly untouchable folks being taken down a peg by a good person whom they underestimate. And he does it kindly and with respect. Through the evil deed, he finds their humanity, their passions, the things they like, and engages them on those subjects. Their terrible deeds are never forgotten about, and there's always a comeuppance in the end, and they go to jail. But still, it has a beautiful balance of just rewards while recognizing these people as, well, people, flawed humans. And Columbo himself is played by one of the most perfect people for exactly that role, Peter Falk. You may know him as the grandfather telling the story of the Princess Bride to his sick grandson. And even though he's much younger in this series, he still has that kindly grandfatherly quality about him, with a smile and a twinkle in his eye, and the sense that he'd tell you a good story if asked. Peter Falk is simply perfect as Columbo. He himself is a comforting person to see, act, and hear speak. And like Columbo always says, I'd like to bring up just one more thing, and that is the other people that took part in the creation of this series. Each episode was often directed and written by different people, giving each episode a distinct feel. Whether they're a bit more straightforward or have a trippy dream sequence, even occasionally turning the formula on its head to great effect, they're often really well made. One early episode created an Emmy Award-winning effect called the glasses effect, in which both lenses of the murderer's glasses simultaneously showed different images on screen of him cleaning up the scene of the crime. Heck, the first episode was directed by Steven Spielberg, of all people. And that's not to mention the other actors who came to play the various murderers or extras. They're often famous guest stars of the time. From Vincent Price to Jack Cassidy to Johnny Cash to Dick Van Dyke to even Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner for you Star Trek fans. They all play their own roles brilliantly, and it's amazing to find such different actors, singers, and famous stars all in one show. Oh, and just one more thing before I wrap this up. I found it difficult to find the last 3 seasons of Columbo on most streaming services. This is largely because the first 7 seasons were made in the 70s, but then the last 3 seasons and specials were various episodes spread out over the 80s, 90s, and even a couple in the early 2000s. I'm not sure why this is. Maybe there was a change in production company that didn't allow the last 3 seasons on some services. But one thing that I do have to note is that the last 3 seasons of Columbo is that they aren't as comfy as the original 7-season run. They show a little bit more gore and are very risque, with sex and affairs being a larger part of the plot of many murders. It felt kind of pandering to watch, if I'm being honest, almost as if they were trying a little bit too hard to bring in an audience who likes darker subjects, and they were very decidedly of the times. It was very easy to tell when things shifted from the 80s to the 90s, and the final episode of the series, made in 2003, definitely had some Matrix aesthetics to it. There's even an episode in the 10th season that upended the formula completely, and I purposefully skipped it while writing this review because I remember feeling uncomfortable while watching it on my first view through. I almost changed the premise of this video because of the last 3 seasons, but at the same time, I don't want to discount the series as a whole just because of some differences due to some decades-long separation in the creation of the show. Either way, I'd still recommend this series, but I figured I should warn about the last 3 seasons as they do have a slightly different feel than the rest of the show. If you're into mysteries, I definitely would give this show a go. If you're not into the murder part, there is very little to no gore or even signs of blood, even in the later seasons, and most of the murders themselves are shown off-screen. So that's Columbo, my comfy mystery show. Incredibly formulaic, but always an interesting view with some brilliant actors and relaxing mysteries to solve. And just one more thing. Before I finish up, I'd like to say that I have opened up commissions to do character art, comics, and portraits. Here are my commission sheets, so pause on screen or just click the links in the description to find them on your desired social media platform. If you just want to help support me in this channel, I also have a Ko-fi account. So follow that link in the description and leave a donation so I can keep making videos and artwork like this. If you appreciated the video, let me know in the comments and leave a like. If you want to see more by me, consider subscribing. It really helps me out. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.